Dr. Matthew Matthews, for instance, proposed that if Singapore did not have a minority president for, say, 4 to 5 consecutive terms in office, then the next election should be reserved only for candidates from a minority race.
I mean, you don't want to go through and look through your history book, and all the presidents after a certain time are majority presidents. So I think from that point of view, we have to have some kind of schemes or mechanisms to ensure the representation, even if it means that election may be in some way or another restricted to a particular group.
But is this too radical for some?
While it is important to have representation from minority communities, by having some kind of special procedure, it might be going a bit too far, and my fear is that it kind of makes us think about ethnicity a bit too much. We really should be getting past this idea of always thinking about ethnicity and hopefully encouraging people to pick the best candidate for the role.
And I think the concern here is if we have a system in which we can assure a minority president being elected from time to time, then it raises questions about whether we might be undercutting meritocracy, which all Singaporeans accept, as a fundamental premise of our society.
While that may be the case, Dr. Matthews maintains that his suggestion should only be used as a last resort.
You want the system to be as unrestricted as possible. I hope that we'll never have to use that kind of safeguard, that there will be the chance that different people of different ethnic groups would in a contest and potentially a minority will be able to be elected. I think that's the best way forward.
But won't people question the credibility of a person elected through a restricted election process?
There is going to be actual voting process and people are going to vote for a particular person. I think that should add to its credibility.
So I think the fact that we have
Former Cabinet Minister Mr. S. Dhanabalan also addressed the minority issue in his submission.
He suggested varying every third presidential election to allow for a minority candidate to be picked. First, have 2 elections for a presidency with a 6-year term, contested in the same way that the president has been elected so far, followed by 1 election for a presidency with an 8-year term. This election will be contested by 2-member teams with 1 member from a minority community comprising Malays or Indians or others.
Each person in the winning pair in the 8-year term contest will take turns being president. For the first 4 years, the one sworn in as president will have all the constitutional powers. The other will serve as vice president. The 2 exchange places in the second half of the term. Although minority representation in the presidency is generally seen as a good thing, not everyone agrees with artificial means of ensuring it.
It's going in many ways against the grain of what we feel is right about meritocracy, about getting the best man or woman for the job. It depends how this ethnic minority rule is going to be put into place.
I think it's important to have representation from many different ethnicities in all our main governmental institutions. Maybe we should start with a more modest proposal, which is just to have some independent body invite people from minority communities to think about identifying suitable candidates and encouraging them to apply to become a presidential candidate, rather than having a whole elaborate legal procedure right now. Let's start small and see whether encouraging people to come forward would help to alleviate the problem.
I think it is and very important, for a Chinese dominant country, for there to be a minority president elected. But I think how we go about having a minority president, to me, is the critical issue.
Instead of narrowing the race for a particular ethnic group, should we be widening the criteria instead to allow more people to qualify to run for president?